Dashie 3 by Damien Chapman. I was getting tired waiting for a room to open up. I was at the Canterlot Mental Hospital to get my memories erased from my past life. Well, not all of them, just the bad ones. It was quite boring as I was sitting there for an hour, but soon enough my name was called.
Devin Dash, please go to room 52. Devin Dash to room 52.
I guess that's me. I hope these ponies know what they are doing. I was still slightly wary around them. I didn't get that good of an experience with the neighbors when I moved into the house that Princess Celestia gave me. Apparently when Twilight said there was a monster in the forest when I first touched down in the Everfree Forest, it took a profound effect on the people of Ponyville. To be exact, they still thought I was a monster, no matter how many times the main six and I tried to correct them. In fact, the only people that weren't afraid of me were the princesses and the main six, which consisted of Twilight Sparkle, Applejack, Fluttershy, Rarity, Pinkie Pie, and of course my daughter Rainbow Dash. I wasn't her biological father, as she was a pony and I was human, but I technically adopted her when I found her in a box at the age of 5. I looked after her for 15 years before her friends came to pick her up. Apparently in Equestria it had only been 15 days. They brought her back home and I was alone for a year, but again, it was only a day for them. All my family was gone, I had no friends to turn to, and the only person I could was taken away by them. I understood it was the best for her, but it didn't stop me feeling terrible, and I was just about to die when they tried to erase her memory again. I learned that our subconscious had a deep connection, and when memories had to be erased, we both had to be in the same dimension for it to occur. But since I wasn't, the spell tried to fix itself by bringing me to Ponyville. But there was one side effect of this occurring. I had lost all my memories. I only got them back when I was about to be transported back home, and Rainbow walked in and remembered me. It took me a while to get my memories back again after that, but when I did, I closed the portal and I've been with her ever since. And when she left for her job, I wanted answers from Twilight about everything that happened. That's where we exchanged ideas for what happened, and I told her what was going to happen if she hadn't transported me just then. I had to admit I was a little dramatic then, but I passed out after telling her and I woke up in a mental hospital. Apparently erasing the amount of bad memories I had would take a couple of treatments, but from what I could tell this would be the last one. I sighed as I reached room 52 and I went inside. Hello? Anyone here? I'm here to get these last few memories removed. When I went inside, I noticed a few ponies in there. I recognized 2 of them, Twilight and Celestia. I bowed to her. I then straightened up.
Hi, Devin.
Good afternoon.
Hi, I don't mean to be rude, but what are you doing here? I thought this was just a standard memory removal.
It is, but since it's the last few memories, we wanted to be here in case there were any side effects. In which case, Celestia is here to fix them.
And what about you?
I'm here to learn by example. I don't know how to properly do memory erasing spells apparently, so I'm here to learn how. Plus, I wanted to see if there were also any side effects.
Oh, okay. I thought, is it that likely something will go wrong that the princesses had to be here? I shrugged it off and thought, well, if something does go wrong, she's here to help. That's good, at least. I went and sat down in a chair set up for me. It was comfy yet firm, and it gave me the chance to look at all the ponies. Twilight still had that warm gleam in her purple eyes that made me trust her in the first place. I remembered our first encounter in her old house, the library. I sighed as I remembered she lived in a castle now. She had been crowned a princess a few weeks ago after she was made into an alicorn. That's basically a cross between a Pegasus and a unicorn. She now had wings and her magic. I then looked at Celestia, who towered over everyone else and had rainbow hair that didn't seem to stop moving even though there was no breeze in the room. She didn't have the same gleam in her eyes like Twilight, and her hair wasn't as cute as rainbows, but there was something about her that made her seem friendly. Perhaps it was the sense of power she gave off that made you think, if I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. It kinda reminded me of Albus Dumbledore in the Harry Potter books. I didn't dare mention this since they wouldn't know what I'm talking about. All the other ponies were wearing white masks to cover their snouts. I couldn't see their cutie marks, which was weird. I shrugged and laid back in my chair and thought of my daughter. At least if anything went wrong, my last memories would be of her. I smiled and closed my eyes.
Thank you. Now just relax. We will get rid of those memories that have been harming you.
The voice was deep and slow. Again, it reminded me of what I thought Kingsley Shacklebolt's voice would be like if I had heard it. I relaxed, and soon enough I could see glowing through my eyelids that brightened every second. Not a light that could come from one lone horn, but from multiple. I felt a tingling sensation go through my entire body, and I knew they hit my nerve center. Pretty soon I began to forget my old life. The only memories left were my schooling and the memories of this place. Plus all the memories of Rainbow Dash were steered clear of. You would think that erasing all these memories would affect my personality in some way, but no. And I was amazed at that as the others were. Everything went perfectly as far as I could tell at that point. The glowing stopped and I knew we were done. I opened my eyes and got on the floor, and fell over.
Whoops.
She came over to me and helped me up along with 2 other ponies.
What happened?
I don't remember how to walk. I tried to get up again. It worked, and I tried to take a few steps. I fell again. They had indeed erased my memories of how to walk. I saw Twilight's horn glow, and she teleported away. Soon enough, she was back with Rainbow Dash holding on to her. Hey, Dashie. Don't worry, I'm fine. I can't remember how to walk, but other than that, I'm fine. Dash? What's wrong? I reached out to her, and then my hand went right through her. I then pulled my hand out, and I saw it. My hand looked like a low-graphic TV was glitching out. I looked around for a mirror, and as if reading my thoughts, Twilight gave one to me. I made a grab for it, but my hand went through that as well. I looked at it while Twilight was holding it and received the shock of my life. My whole body was like my hand. I suddenly got a headache and closed my eyes and gripped my head. When I opened them up again, I saw a world that neither included ponies nor anything cartoonish like I was used to. Instead, it was a world that I recognized from my schooling memories. Earth. My hand was going back to normal, and I could touch stuff here. No. I'm not staying here. I shut my eyes and concentrated on home. By then, a lot of people were staring at me, and when they tried to touch me, I almost stopped being static. So I stayed away from them, and a minute later, after concentrating on home, I opened my eyes. I could see both and Equestria, and in both worlds, I guess they saw me struggle. But in the human world, everyone was afraid to touch me. Her voice was quiet and far away, even though she was grabbing my arm and yelling. I suddenly got a flashback of when I was about to go through the portal back to the human world. I'm not going to leave you again, I promise. From what I could tell when I listened to her voice, my voice was exactly the same to her. I held on to my daughter as tight as I could and concentrated on her. Soon enough, Earth vanished and I completely saw Equestria. When I looked at my hand, I was back to normal. I hugged my daughter.
What happened?
I'd also like to know that. Explain, please.
I was back on Earth, I say as I looked at them worried.
How would any of us know?
I have a theory, I say as Celestia looked at me incredulously. I'm not sure it's right or not, though. It was true. I had a feeling that the universe was correcting itself. I didn't belong in Equestria, but I needed to stay here, whether the universe liked it or not. I had spent 3 months living here. What with the first week regaining my memories that Twilight erased when she erased Rainbow's memories, and the rest of the time learning to fit in, and my memory treatments, I'd been here a total of 92 days. On Earth, I'd be more than 100, even though I still look 34. Dashie still looked like she was 20, which was understandable since I found her when she was 5. I shook my head as I was getting off topic.
Well, tell us, please.
Like Twilight said during my first week here, I don't belong here. So when my memories were erased, the universe realized I didn't have a way to get them back, so it sent me to the one place that I could, and since I didn't get them back, it's sure to try again.
So how did you get back?
For this one I knew the answer. It had been the love for my daughter and our deep mental connection. When I touched down on Earth, I realized that I didn't belong there. I focused on Rainbow here. Eventually my vision split to where I could see both worlds. I focused more and I got back here. I think because we have a deep mental connection, I confused it with that. Celestia looked like she was thinking hard. It was obvious that she was confused at these words. She was also amazed that somebody who had never had a single day's worth of training in magic or the physics of Equestria had all these answers.
How do you know all this?
She asked as she looked at me, and then Twilight stepped up and answered for me.
I'm just as confused as you are, Princess. In fact, he helped me understand what went wrong with the memory spell I originally put on Rainbow Dash. Neither of us can explain it. It just happens.
Celestia looked at us as Rainbow and Twilight helped me out to my house. By the time we got there, I almost got my walking back. Thanks, Twilight.
For what?
She asked me as she went into my house. My house was small but comfy. It reminded me of the house where me and Dashie used to live. When you enter the house, you go onto a small landing that splits into 2 separate levels. The upper level included the dining room, the primary living room, the kitchen, the large bathroom, and 2 other bedrooms. I didn't use these. The lower level was a hallway house where if you turn left, you are faced with 3 doors. The left and the center were 2 other bedrooms. I used the left bedroom to sleep. The right door was a smaller bathroom that was cramped, but I liked it. If you headed right in the hallway, it led to the laundry room off it, and if you headed straight ahead, it headed into a large room that held a bar and my other living room. I preferred the lower level to the top one, since in the top living room there was a huge window where someone across the street could look in. Rainbow and Twilight brought me downstairs so I could lay down on the couch. For explaining my answers to the princess, I wouldn't be able to explain them anyway.
Oh, no problem.
She said, and she smiled to go upstairs. No, just you being here is enough. I smiled and hugged my daughter. She hugs back and sits down on my lazy boy recliner. The princess had brought back multiple luxuries from my home, including electricity and my old computer, so I turned it on and started some Netflix for us. Soon enough, after a few hours of binge watching, we both fell asleep. Twilight didn't come back downstairs, so I figured she was using one of the guest bedrooms. That night, I had nightmares of leaving Rainbow. I knew I couldn't do that. The next day I woke up to the smell of breakfast. I didn't expect any meat since all the ponies were vegetarian, but I was fine with that. I had turned vegetarian when I met Rainbow. I looked around for her and I saw she was still sleeping. I wondered who was making breakfast. I tried to get up and I found out I could walk. Apparently I got my ability to walk overnight. I was amazed but thought, I'm in Equestria and I'm surprised I can walk. I laughed at myself and went upstairs. I went quietly up the stairs. I saw Spike making breakfast while Twilight was looking through some books that I'm assuming Spike brought for her. I smiled and went up to Spike quietly. I patted him on the back and said thanks.
Gah! Oh, it's only you, Devin. Don't scare me, alright?
Or what, you'll breathe fire at me? I laughed and said when I saw Spike's face, oh, calm down, I'm joking. Some people were still not used to my sense of humor.
Knock it off, you two!
I smiled out of the corner of my mouth as I looked at what Spike was preparing. I saw what I thought was some seaweed cooking. I had personally never had seaweed before, but I figured it was like all seafood. It made me sick thinking about it, but they were my guests and I didn't want to be rude. Plus, I thought, it's only seaweed. How bad could it be? I smiled and went to Twilight. "Hey, what are you doing?" I asked her.
I'm looking through some old history and magic books to see if there's a solution to your problem.
"You mean how I fluctuate between worlds?" I asked, slightly interested as I sat down with her.
That and your walking problem.
"Oh, that solved itself. Don't worry about it," I said as I looked at her. To prove it, I stood up and walked around and sat back down.
Oh, Pony, I already found a spell to fix it for you.
"Well, you can always help others with that spell." She shrugged and said,
I guess.
At that moment, I heard a loud yawn and figured Dashie was up. I smiled and asked if breakfast was ready to Spike. He said,
Yes.
and dished out 4 servings of seaweed that looked like it had a lot of spices on it. He handed one to me and I took a bite out of it. I widened my eyes in amazement. It tasted consecutively like cucumbers with a hint of vanilla. I figured that this was due to the spices. "It tastes great, Spike. Thanks." Spike glowed with pride as Rainbow came up the stairs. She had slightly ruffled hair, but she seemed more or less awake. She smiled as she came and sat down. Twilight was too entranced in her books to notice Rainbow, so I answered for her. "She's looking for a spell to fix my problem. You know how I fluctuate between the 2 worlds?" I looked at her, confused. "Not that I'm complaining, but why? Don't you have a job?" I thought about this, and it did make sense, and I knew it was useless to argue with her. She was the element of loyalty. Even when you don't want her to be there for you, she'll always hope in any way she can. "Okay, just make sure you don't lose your job, okay? I don't need your full attention. I can take care of myself, you know." Twilight just then started to stretch and noticed Rainbow. She was surprised for a moment, and then she began to eat. Also, Rainbow started to eat as well. They looked like they had different spices on their seaweed. I figured that Spike knew them well enough to spice it to taste like their favorite food. I finished my food soon. "Well, Twilight, did you find anything?"
Not yet. The only way that I can think of is a way that I don't think you would like.
"I'm not leaving Dash, so don't even suggest it."
That's not what I was going to do. The way I was thinking is that instead of you sticking out like a sore hoof with your human appearance and the universe trying to fix itself, I suggest that we turn you into a pony, so that it will have no reason to bother you.
I thought about this for a moment. It was true that it didn't seem the best of an idea, but it was one and probably the only idea we had. I didn't want to turn into a pony. I liked my fingers, but still I didn't want to leave Dash either. I left gently at my own hesitation. Dash was more important than my luxuries. In fact, Dash was one of my comforts. She was my daughter. I looked up at Twilight. "Okay." All 3 of them, Twilight, Rainbow, and Spike, looked at me in amazement.
What?
She said, confused. "Let's do it. Turn me into a pony." Twilight was looking at me in amazement. Rainbow Dash had tears in her eyes, no doubt about to say that she had something in them, and Spike was clearly wondering about something that I didn't know.
Well, there is one problem with that.
"What do you mean? You were the one that suggested it. If you didn't think it through, you wouldn't have done that." Twilight looked a little taken aback at these words, and a little sad, I think.
I didn't think that you would accept this plan.
"It's the only one we got. So what's wrong with it?"
Well, you remember how we said you were the first human we did a memory spell to?
Yeah.
Well, you were actually the first human here at all. Never has somebody from your world come here ever. So we never tried any spells on them. We know that memory spells work on you, but we don't know if any others do.
I thought about this. I thought if I was able to get here, then others would too. But then I thought, if that were the case, then where would they all be? They would have to be immediately sent home just for them to be gone a few days. Let alone if they stay here, then they would most likely just stay here. A few days here and you'd be long forgotten by everyone back home. Also, you warm up to this place quite easily. Then I guess we need to experiment. Her tears immediately turned into a face of worriment. She continued to stare at me amazingly.
To go to these lengths for an adopted daughter, have a complete species change, even have a chance to die, just to be with her, it's amazing.
She thought, it's the only way. If we don't try, then I'll have to stick with this problem. As if on cue, I began to flicker. I saw myself in the mirror and I had again turned into that low graphic glitch. I closed my eyes and focused on Rainbow and home. When I opened my eyes again, I saw I was in that split dimension again. It seemed that the universe was going easier on me this time. It had tried to do it quickly and gently. As if it thought that after the time from the last time, I had reconsidered home and wanted to leave Equestria. I focused again and I could feel a strong force pushing me. After that, I realized I really did want to stay there and tried to force me back into the human world. I tried with all my might to get back to Equestria. Eventually, I felt the force softening and eventually disappear entirely. I opened my eyes and saw I was sitting back on my chair with Dashie holding my hand with her hoof. I sighed in relief and hugged her again.
Fine. Let's go try some spells after I contact Princess Celestia and the others.
I understood who she meant by the others. She meant the rest of the main six. But I thought, why does the princess need to be contacted? I didn't have time to ask, as while I was wondering, Spike was already breathing fire on a roll of letter. A few minutes later, a bright light was glowing in the middle of the room. I could make out the shape of the princess who I expected, along with 4 others. When the light faded, I was in the middle with Princess Celestia, all the bearers of the elements of harmony, and a baby dragon.
Howdy, Twilight. What did you need?
Hi, everyone. I don't think you know this, but Devin is fluctuating between the human world and Equestria.
Excuse me.
It's true. We have a plan, but we might need your help.
Yay. What do you need?
We need to find a spell or a potion that will turn Devin into a pony.
Everyone was looking at Twilight and me in amazement and confusion.
Did I hear right? You would like to turn Devin into a pony?
Yes, but don't worry. Devin has already consented to allow us to experiment on him, which is where we need your help. We need him to not be any different than he already is, if we have any hope of completing these experiments. Fluttershy, you would be helping take care of him. Applejack, you would provide any spare food. Rainbow Dash, if you get sick, then you would rush to get a doctor. Rarity, since we are testing potions as well as spells, then you and Spike will look for ingredient.
And what am I here for?
You have more extensive magic than me, and I would greatly appreciate it if you could help us with the spells.
She thought about this for a few minutes and then nodded.
Okay.
You'll help?
Sure. You're family of one of my students. Plus, I see how you and Rainbow get along.
I smiled brightly at all of them. Thank you. Thanks to all of you. I won't forget this. I had been transferred to a testing lab in Canterlot, along with the rest of the 6. We were to begin our first experiments on me in 3 hours. I had already wrapped everything up with the others in Ponyville in case something went wrong. I had my fingers crossed, hoping nothing did. The testing lab had a few bedrooms for test subjects, and they were all extremely comfy. The main 6 and I all had different bedrooms, but before Rainbow went to bed, she had wanted a story as a reminder of what our life used to be before Equestria, so I did, and I went to my room for sleep. The next morning I woke up to complete silence. I was surprised at this since I thought that testing would begin early in the morning. I got up and got myself ready for the day, but when I opened the door out of my room, I immediately heard noises of experiments. They were just loud enough for me to cover my ears, but not loud enough so that you get hearing damage. I went to the room that Celestia had said we were doing the experimenting in. Once I got there, I got a sense of deja vu. I opened the door and I saw Twilight, Celestia, Rainbow Dash, Rarity, and Spike. I smiled, and they all smiled back at me. Hey everyone, are you ready?
Yes, though I have to say, I don't know why I have to be here for this part. I thought I was just here to find potion materials.
I already told you. We have no idea what ingredients will work on him, so if we discover any that do, we need you to go and get them.
Humph! I don't understand why Applejack isn't here either. Aren't her friends important?
Of course she thinks we are important, but she does have a job. In fact, I looked at Rainbow Dash and Rarity. I thought you two had jobs to do as well. Don't you need to go do them?
Both Rainbow Dash and Twilight insisted that I stay here. They said my job was essential. Oh.
And what's your excuse, Rainbow? Your job isn't essential and you captain the weather squad. So they are okay with you taking the next few days off? I sighed and thought, I hope you know what you're doing, Dash. I looked up at everyone. So what do you need me to do?
We just need you to start trying out some potions and seeing how they react to you. And soon enough, you can go sit down and we'll try spells on you.
Okay. Soon enough, I was trying out potions. All of them had the same effect on me as they had on ponies, except for one. That potion they called was Divina Replicationum. I asked what that translated to, and apparently they said it was Latin for Replication Divine. You can probably guess what it was supposed to do. It was meant to make a duplicate of me so that while I'm trying out potion ingredients, they can try spells on the duplicate. After an hour or two of potion testing, I got up and sat down in the chair. Soon enough, Twilight's and Celestia's horns were glowing brightly. They tried levitation spells and morphing spells. The levitation spells worked, but the best that morphing spells could do was make me shorter, taller, my face change shape, and make me grow more hair. They couldn't do anything to the inside of my body. They were just about to give up for the day when I said, how about, instead of changing my body, you could change my actual DNA? Is there a spell for that? I looked at Celestia, and it was obvious that she was thinking about something. She bowed her head a little.
There is, but the spell could do serious damage to you if not used properly.
I'm prepared to risk it. Besides, we have two of the most powerful magicians in Equestria in this room right now. How bad could it go?
Are you sure you want to? This is one of the most dangerous spells in the world. It's dark magic that is hidden away. Nobody but me and Luna know where it is.
I'm sure. She was clearly struggling to make an argument, but she saw I had my mind set on this, so she said,
Very well.
She was gone for a good half hour before she came back. I looked at the book she had in her mouth, and it was titled Occulto de Tenebras Magicae. She put it down on the table where the potions had been.
There it is, Occulta de Tenebrae Magicae, or more commonly known, The Secrets of Dark Magic.
Her voice was a little higher and bitter than usual. She sighed and said,
I thought this book would never see the light of day, but if you're sure, who am I to stop you?
She used her telekinesis to flip the pages to the spell she was looking for, but the entire book was written in Latin. Even Twilight was having a tough time reading it, but Celestia seemed like she was reading a particularly ugly book written in English. Soon enough, she closed the book, but her horn continued to glow.
Okay, Devin, just relax, and I'll try using this on you.
I took a deep breath and laid back in the chair, but the chair was near the door, which had a mirror on it. She was about to shoot the spell when Rarity went in and the spell bounced off the mirror and hit Rainbow Dash. Dashie! I yelled. I ran to her and saw that she was growing and her limbs were changing into a more human form. Soon enough, an adult girl with rainbow hair was in my arms.